If there's one thing Hasbro learned from Fall of Cybertron Bruticus is, unless there's a good reason, always make the team leaders the next size up from their followers. Voyager-class Onslaught is a heavy remold of Hotspot, and aside from the obvious head and vehicle mode, they've successfully turned a fire engine into an anti-aircraft truck, mostly because he's retooled backwards. Hotspot's cab is the rear portion of Onslaught, see the light bar, and vice versa. And of course the entire ladder assembly is replaced with a rotating turret. It doesn't look it, but if you flip those panels up it turns, albeit with some resistance. Also the guns peg in a couple of ways, but swivel vertically in either case. While the colours are G1 Onslaught, no question there, the lack of paint results in a fairly bland vehicle, military or not. Do I even need to use that running gag for the turret? Not that it stopped fans, but Hasbro omitted the old toys base mode. It's for the best. This figure does quite enough already. Don't know about you, but to me this robot design feels like it commands authority in how it looks strong without being overly blocky like the brutish Motormaster, or even Brawl. It works for both Hotspot, who's very charismatic, and Onslaught, the eloquent strategist of the Combaticons. It's this mode where most of the paint went, and I can only assume they kept the light bar to decorate the kneecaps. A number of joints are ratchets, leading to a series of stable poses for Onslaught, who has 17 points of articulation. The guns can be wielded separately, combined, or in keeping with his show model, on his back. You can even lift the turret slightly so they aim forward. That's neat. While I really liked the Universe 2 toy, it's nice to have a proper, modernized G1 Onslaught that actually combines. Though deco-wise, I'd say he's beaten by Hotspot and the Combatron Commander Dollrailer. The only issue I have with him is, much like his comrades, the orange paint seems thin, and having removed the guns from the turret several times, at least some of it's chipped off. But that's more than made up for by the metallic gold turret. Man, is it eye candy. And like Grajiba, the hubcaps are actually painted. Something Takara does more than Hasbro these days. Though admittedly Dollrailer's missing a lot of his vehicle camo. It's not like the robot's devoid of paint either. His shoulders and arms are sparse, but that's how he's meant to look. The general layout is more or less accurate. The additional weapons are redecos of Unite Warrior's scatter shots, which can combine themselves, or with the other set of guns, resulting in the longest rifle in the history of oh shit. On the whole, it's no contest. And now, it's time to transform and combine! Wait, wrong shit. Barring Devastator, all sets from both lines merge Scramble City style. The team leaders are the torsos, while each minion turns into an arm or leg, not just for their intended gestalts, as you can mix up the deluxes and voyagers as you wish. The torso design is accurate to both Bruticus and Baldigus, with the body shield, head sculpt, and the team leaders' guns mounted on their backs. And the minions generally look decent in both their limb modes, sans Heptor, whose blades are even more intrusive as a leg. Yeah, he stays an arm most of the time, since they can be positioned either parallel to the limb itself, or splayed out like in alt mode to slice and dice. Regardless of the configuration, both gestalts seem reasonably proportioned. They're properly bulked out, the limbs are the same length, though Baldigus takes it a step further with the inclusion of Hasbro's Computron's hands and feet just in green. Unlike the traditional combiner piece, these don't transform. The hands are hands, the feet are feet, nothing more. You can actually store the hands inside the heels when not in use. With how definitive they are, these actually improve the look of Baldigus, or just about any set you use them for. Most of the gestalt's articulation come from the pegs that connect the limbs to the torso, plus the individual bot's legs and waists result in full functioning forearms and elbows. But the one thing the Onslaught Dollrailer retool has over Hotspot is that these chest panels actually peg in place, solidifying the torso, preventing the arms from sliding out, and generally making both sets easier to pose. However, with the aforementioned feat, Baldigus gains ankle tilts, unlike the combiner piece, which can only swivel on the limb they're attached to. The mishmash of colour schemes is the norm with most combiners, and to be fair, nothing outright clashes on these two. Combiner Wars Bruticus uses the old toy's colour palette, including the unpainted grey body plate, which consequently makes him feel like a prototype. It's almost like they should have been... Damn it. Baldigus is in his anime colours, though deviates slightly with the golden body plate, which I definitely approve of. He feels armoured up and ready for combat. Though, not gonna lie, a part of me wants Hasbro to release him in the US toy colours. Finally, Hasbro's Combaticons can store their armament across the various ports on Bruticus. Meanwhile, the Combatron's guns, blasters, etc. can merge into at least 2 large weapons for Baldigus, disjointed as they look. Overall, these sets are pretty damn cool. Forget combining, I'd recommend the individual toys on their own merits. Mildly in Brawl and Danger's case because of the waist, and Hepta's due to the rotors. Of course, Hasbro's Combaticons were sold separately, whereas the Combatrons are strictly part of a box set. On top of that, both teams form pretty solid gestalts that stay true to the originals one way or another. However, between the better paintwork, for the most part, and the improved functionality with the additional accessories, it's clear who the champ is. Well, that wasn't predictable. But that's not a knock on Bruticus, who, amongst Hasbro's combiners, is second best for me. Some might find it strange that I didn't compare the Unite Warriors Combaticons with the Combatrons, considering their straight repaints of each other, or Hasbro's and Takara's Combaticons, like most have at this point. Hence why I went this route. Might as well stand out where I can, right? Says the guy considering covering both Computrons.